Hello, guys. This is asked by Delta Rube, a cool member of the forums. Actually, what can we say about the COD helpers now that they have an EE? So I'm gonna go down one by one. Sadly, the wiki is not updated, and for some reason, when I try to do it while showing the game, it uses my camera's mic. So I'm gonna be using this and showing the differences. So first thing you need to know is I'm going to be looking at this from the point of COD and not from the point of their skills. So consider that whatever is their last skill, that it doesn't matter, and it's going to be replaced by a reflex and life bonus that's about the same amount, and all five of them are going to have the exact same skill. So fourth skill doesn't matter, it's the exact same one for everyone. And the idea here is to know for what comps and what things you'd be running, where you would want to place them. I do want to point out that except for Elizabeth, everyone else has a form of pass or penetration and not a team buff. It's more line buff through passing. So let's start from the order of the patch notes. So Lemmy, first of all, she has a forward pass, recover action bar, increase receiving pass effect, and critical damage. It's not going to be that great of a pass again because you can't stone her. So you shouldn't think that much about passing it to a striker unless you have a utility striker. Again, not the greatest thing, but to get the ball out, it can be pretty chill. Self-defense, increase attack power when attacked. Again, not the greatest skill when you're thinking about someone who's supposed to be forward passing. Again, not the best, but what I do find cool is her last skill, Appruz Maruzri, or can you pronounce this? Flawless performance. Thank you for making it easier for me. Increase critical rate 25, reflex 25, and reduce incoming damage by 15%. The reasons why it's pretty good is because when used in backline, it is going to give a damn good resistance, especially for certain backs that already have forms of self-regeneration. It's pretty cool, especially backs that are running things like Lucian, for example, or Zibroy, where they're kind of lacking the DR, but they have everything else. Not to mention, critical rate and reflex is pretty great if they're trying to steal from your goalkeeper. Not bad, but in my opinion, one of the weakest of the COD helper. And I do think the top ones are, in my opinion, Shifo and Phil. I'm going to go down why later. So basically, what she's really valuable in is giving DR to the backline and buffing a bit their crit rate and reflex. But it's not something that is going to be big enough to say it's worth it, knowing that, again, they can steal from her and she will, pretty good chance she'll die on the second hit. They have actually buffed how much they buffed them on the last skill, so it's not as bad as it used to be. Now, Elizabeth, the one that we all hate because she was the first one and, well, kind of sucked back in the day. I mean, she's a bit better. The cool part is already, you know, her active's going to be buffed. So, how much? 40% crit rate for the entire team? It could actually make her valuable, especially against certain comps where you can't crit. That is pretty great unless you're running a Banshee. That's a separate note. But knowing that she could give around 40% if they buff this, it's not bad. A reflex, another turn of a chance if it's steal. Not the greatest again, unless you've got some form of increase reflex or decrease reflex already present. But knowing that this is more something you're going to be putting in the front line, it is going to be pretty limited to use this skill. But it does have potential if you're running, for example, in midline an Alice, somewhere a Celestia, and even it can really debuff reflex. She could actually steal, so it's not that bad though. And increase attack power, increase reflex, and penetration within the position of a pass. I would say, honestly, if you're looking for the highest damage output of the five helpers, unless you're running a Vonch again, this is pretty much the best. Also, maybe a Ravi, I guess, for reflex. So, again, pretty decent. Though you're going to want to have some high reflex, and she's the only one you're going to place front. So you're really going to want to be sure your back and mid can survive and bring the ball front, because that's usually not the issue that people have is front damage. It's more just surviving to bring it. So she's not that bad anymore, but she still doesn't feel like something you really want. Because attack power and penetration, most of the time, are pretty close to 100. Or at least endgamer wise. Again, you're not going to be seeing these skills and stats unless you're past COD 40, so you should be aware that you're just not going to be able to use the bonus skill. So you should maybe just look on the right side if you're in the 30s and 20s. Now we have Chiffon, who I'm going to say right now is the best COD helper for Suicide Celestia backs. I don't think I even need to explain why. It's very clear. She gives action bar and she revives. Also, reviving backline, very good for survival. I'm just saying. Pretty cool. She does penetrate, so it's not a forward pass. You can't use her that way. Um, she's going to increase its action speed and attack power with a critical hit. I would actually say try get her to crit once and then just to pass, because 30% action speed combined with Eclair Solarity. How do they call this, please? Eclair Boost. Thank you. With Eclair Boost is actually very powerful because Action Bar and Life plus Spirit, I don't know if it's 20 or 20 per player. Either way, it's pretty good already for her. So she's Spirit Genning, she's Life Genning, she's Action Bar Genning, and she has a skill to boost her speed. All of that together makes something pretty good. If she was a forward passer, it would have been perfect. Sadly, she's not, but it also does point out that her best stat is, well, speed and power, but still, speed is at the same level as power. So really maxing out on her utility. If you're not running a Celestia line or you're not running a line that has high DR, that already has self-heal, I wouldn't advise it. This is more the helper you would put, for example, in the old Angela lines, in a Jin line like this, you can be running the Wormwind uniques. So it's pretty cool for survival in back line. Then we have Net. Uh, Also, not bad, but just doesn't feel that great unless you're facing, for example, a Latios, because he's basically the opposite of Phil skill-wise. He can do a steal, not the greatest once again. Increase action speed by 50% when your life is 80 or higher. Now that means that he has a really good chance of acting if his life is high. So keeping his life high to stack the past stuff can be pretty cool. It means there's a big chance he'll be able to do it. Decrease action speed by 25%, decrease reflex by 25%, and critical rate by 15 makes it clear that he would be best in backline. Now, is it worth it though? The only thing I can say it's worth it is if you're facing a Lazio striker, because we can all agree against a Lazio striker, you never want her to shoot. So slowing them down as much as humanly possible is the best. I mean, if you could spam Celestia actives, we would do it. Hint, hint, Celestia Gibril combo. We've all seen it. We know how cancerous that shit is. I mean, come on, you're actually capable of not making them move for 6 minutes. You know, so no, again, I would not advise him just for that very simple reason that it just doesn't bring any value, to be honest. You might be fast, but you can only stack it once. You'll stack it and then you're, what, passing around with no buff to the line whatsoever. That's why, again, I do believe Chiffon is really powerful. And then Phil, aka my go-to man, because I'm light dark and I had to take someone light dark. No, I'm kidding. Not for that reason, but honestly, he broken. So first of all, long passer, pretty cool. Recover action bar, spirit, increase receiving pass effect. You're not really doing it for this. You're doing it because he has a great spirit gen. So you can forward pass to, for example, Balteon. Well, I kind of run that, so I'm going to give kind of how I use him. You forward pass to Balteon. Balteon active passes, and your striker can usually active pass and like destroy the enemy goalkeeper. Or you could actually even throw him in front line for that speed buff, counter attack resistance. I mean, on Vonchi, it's actually a good buff. So there really isn't anything bad on that aspect. Recovering 20% spirit every 3 minutes, it doesn't matter if he's dead or not, can also help if you're able to block the mid or front line. No loss there either. And increase action speed, counter attack resistance, and critical resistance. He's meant to be used in backline. Using him in frontline for Vonchi is cool. But again, as you know in COD, the biggest issue is always going to be the fact that you're going to run out of time if you've got a decent back. So putting him there, increasing their speed by 25% for maybe a second, a third speed totem in there, and you're going to have a pretty good chance to get out of there early enough to not end up timing out, as this is a serious problem you tend to have in higher leagues. Unless you're running the one-hit KO meta, but then it's more survival. Depends what you're running, Jibby Jabba, but you got the major idea. So what kind of comp would I run each of them in? So I would run her in comps that have high survival in backline, but just don't have the heals to go with it. What am I saying? The exact opposites. Comps that have high heals, but no survival to go with it, because she's going to be giving them DR, critical resistance, and reflex, or basically the things you look for in a backline. Elizabeth is clearly in front line if you're going for the score wars. Attack power and penetration are pretty good for that. Chiffon is for any comp that has high DR and close to no life gen, Or of course Ceresia because you want to keep her rezzing 1,000 times. We all know why we're doing that. Hashtag abuse. I mean, it's sad. I keep mine at level 40 just so she can die faster. Needs. I never advise him unless there's a Latios, and even then, I believe increasing our speed is better, but that's when I would use him. And Phil is pretty good when you have high survival, but it takes you time to go to frontline. Those are comps that usually don't use front passers, but when they get around 25, 30 minutes, they can just go all the way front constantly. So at the beginning, with his long pass, he can help the striker in the front stack a few actives. This has also some great synergy with Armel's active because she'll be able to reduce the goalkeeper's life while you're fighting in the back lines. And I mean, counterattack resistance, critical resistance are always pretty damn good. So, in my opinion, if I would have to rate them, I would say Phil is first, Chiffon is second, Elizabeth third, Lemmy fourth, and I honestly I don't even want to put him in the list how bad I think he is. Neat. So, I hope this helps you guys pretty much understand what happened to them, what kind of comps you're going to be wanting to run them in, and again, be aware that as you climb the floors, their skills will go up, their skills will change. From what I understood, I think you need to go to floor 40 for them to be EE, and I think you might need to go a few floors up more for all their skills to be maxed. And their last skill will keep going up with ridiculous numbers. Don't even check that one as always. Now, just in case, do I advise using them outside of COD? Not really. I mean, COT, yes, but in PvP and PvE, they're just not gonna cut it unless you're trying to run some sort of funky comp. And then again, I would be advising Chiffon or Phil because that'd be Cerestia, Suicide, or Spirit Jet that you're gonna need. So, hope this explains to you guys the basics. And if you have any more questions or opinion, just write them down in the part below. Have a good day, guys.